Hi, my name is Margaret Jenkins. I'm 62 years old and I live in Lakewood, a quiet neighborhood in Dallas, Texas. What I'm about to share with you isn't easy, but it's real. After almost 40 years of marriage, I found out my husband was cheating on me with his secretary. But what no one saw coming was how perfect my revenge would be. This video is for anyone who's ever been betrayed, lied to, or made to feel small. Maybe you're going through something like that right now. I'm going to show you how I took back my power, not with yelling, not with drama, but with strategy, dignity, and strength. My story might inspire you, wake you up, and remind you just how strong you really are. Before I share my story, I'm asking you to hit that subscribe button right now. It means a lot to me to be able to open up with you like this. And please, drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. Let's walk through this story of truth, courage, and revenge, together. I've always been a practical woman. Always. So when my husband started acting strange, it wasn't hard to notice. He woke up earlier, stayed up later, smiled at nothing like he was living in some fantasy. It wasn't just a gut feeling. It was the cheap perfume his secretary wore that clung to his clothes. And I knew, when there's too much perfume, there's way too much infidelity. He started guarding his phone like it held national secrets. And this is a man who used to forget his passcode every week. Then one night, I heard him whisper, "Good night, beautiful," in the bathroom. I thought he was talking to me. He wasn't. A cheating husband doesn't always start with a bed. It begins with the little lies in the routine. Even before the affair was confirmed, my heart screamed for justice. He laughed quietly in the car, dressed better than usual, and wore that old anniversary watch I gave him 20 years ago. The same watch that collected dust in his drawer for years. A betrayal doesn't come all at once. It tiptoes in, and I caught every step of it. You know that feeling when someone's right next to you, but you feel completely alone? I was sleeping next to a stranger. And that stranger put on such a good show. Sometimes I almost believed him. But every woman knows when something's wrong. Infidelity doesn't start with a kiss. It starts with an empty look and rehearsed excuses. It was a Tuesday. He forgot to delete a message. I read it, and my stomach dropped. "You make me feel alive," it said. I stared at those words like someone punched me in the chest. We'd been married nearly 40 years. My revenge began in that moment. Quiet. Calm. Because sometimes, perfect revenge is born in perfect silence. I could have screamed. I could have marched down to her office and exposed everything. But I didn't. I sat on the couch, closed my eyes, and started planning. Revenge isn't about yelling. It's about precision. Smart women don't explode, they execute. I started tracking patterns, schedules, mistakes. It was almost entertaining watching him try to lie to someone who knew every inch of his soul. He'd say he was going to the store, but came back with nothing. He forgot his work badge but claimed he had a meeting. Cheating has a rhythm, and I learned how to dance to it. While he buried himself in lies, I started rising in truth. I got my hair done, went back to the gym. I swapped routine for renewal. I began researching how women win silently. My husband never expected the woman he betrayed would turn into a strategist overnight. Instead of spying, I observed. Instead of crying, I studied. And that, my friend, became the foundation of everything. A cheating husband always underestimates the power of a silent woman. He thinks silence means weakness. It doesn't. It means I'm preparing for war. I found out they met at a cheap motel just outside of town. Every Thursday, like clockwork. The funniest part? He told me he was focusing on his health. I thought, of course, health of the secretary. I looked in the mirror one day and laughed. This whole thing, it was waking me up. The day of exposing was coming. The hardest part? Pretending not to know. Smiling at dinner. Asking about his day. Hearing him say, "I love you," with a straight face. But I kept my cool. Because real revenge doesn't rush. It waits. He thought I was clueless. I was just calculating. My plan was to make him feel it. Not just the betrayal, but the weight of breaking someone's trust. I didn't want a scandal. I wanted his conscience to do the screaming. And while he was falling for his secretary, I was rising as the woman he'd regret betraying. A friend once asked, "Are you going to forgive him?" And I said, "I'm going to forgive myself first, for believing in someone who gave me so little." Their affair was pathetic. Like a bad movie playing on repeat. I was just waiting to walk out of the theater and shut the screen for good. There's no such thing as a small betrayal. Every lie cut deep. Even the way he changed how he combed his hair, as if she'd coached him. I knew that when I exposed it all, it'd be like ripping off a mask he'd worn for years. And I already had my hand on the string. The saddest part? He still called me his queen in front of people. A cheating husband can memorize lines, but forget how to love. That gave me fuel. Every lie made me stronger. I made myself a promise. This wasn't going to be just another revenge. It was going to be a perfect revenge. I went to a lawyer. Quietly. No drama. I just wanted to know my rights. What I could do without turning it into a soap opera. And right there, I got confirmation of what I already knew. I had every card in my hand. All I had to do now was play the game. And the next move would change everything. That morning started like any other, but the universe had different plans. I was sipping my coffee on the porch when I overheard two women at the beauty salon. They were gossiping about a scandal, something about a married man and his secretary. Every word hit like a punch. Even without names, I just knew. It was my husband. That's how his carefully hidden affair came crashing down, in the most ordinary place imaginable. I went home with my heart racing and my mind spinning. I tried to convince myself it was just coincidence. But how do you ignore details like his car, his schedule, even the way they described his laugh? An affair between a charming boss and an ambitious young secretary. It was a cliché, until it became my reality. His betrayal was no longer a suspicion. It was public. That night, I planned to confront him, but I couldn't. I sat in the living room, watching every movement, every little lie in his gestures. He spoke to me like a faithful husband, like everything was normal. But everything in him screamed infidelity. And the worst part? It wasn't just pain anymore. It was humiliation. Strangers had known before I did. I cried in silence that night, locked in the bathroom like the floor might swallow me whole. I was angry at myself for not seeing it sooner, for trusting too much. He called me love, while texting his secretary during lunch breaks. The betrayal cut deep. But that pain sparked something inside me. If he thought he was in control, he had another thing coming. The next morning, I acted like nothing had happened. smiled, chatted with neighbors, went grocery shopping. But inside, a storm was brewing. I wasn't going to be the woman begging for answers. I was going to be the woman who knew everything and said nothing. The woman who watches, calculates, and plans her perfect revenge. A woman he never saw coming. I started getting close to people in his circle without raising suspicion. Mutual friends, co-workers, even the doorman at her building. Each conversation gave me a new piece of the puzzle. Their affair had been going on longer than I thought. Flirty glances, innocent touches, secret lunches, all paid with our money. And he really thought he'd never be exposed. One friend told me, "You don't deserve this." I said, "I know. That's why he's going to regret it." This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming the dignity he tried to steal from me. What cheating husbands forget is that a betrayed woman doesn't disappear. She evolves. And with a power they'll never be able to understand. I kept everything secret from my family. For now. Because I needed silence for my plan to work. I let him think he was still fooling me. Silence became my weapon, and I started enjoying the control it gave me. He underestimated me, thought I was just a broken woman. But behind my calm eyes was a storm waiting to break everything. I started collecting evidence. Screenshots, photos, timestamps. A friend helped me, quietly. We even found the hotel they used. When I saw that photo, him holding her hand, I didn't cry. I smiled. Not because it felt good, but because the end of their little fantasy was near. Their infidelity was now proof. And I was going to use it. While he kept pretending, I played the hardest role of my life. The betrayed wife who knows everything but pretends she doesn't. I woke up, made coffee, smiled. Every gesture was part of the revenge. A calculated, elegant, inevitable revenge. I wanted him to feel everything I had felt, in silence. The pain needed to come through shame, through loss, through truth. One night, he came home late and said he got stuck in traffic. He lied straight to my face. I just said, "You must be exhausted." He didn't even catch the poison laced in my words. When a hurt woman decides to strike back, she doesn't yell. She gently strokes with one hand, while the other sharpens the knife. I changed my routine. Got my hair done, bought new clothes, went back to Pilates. He complimented me like I was doing it for him. Poor thing. He had no idea this was all part of the act. I wasn't trying to impress him. I was preparing him for the fall. His secretary might have thought she was winning. But she'd never met a woman fueled by pain and strategy. For the first time in years, I started remembering who I was. My dreams, my books, the places I wanted to see. His betrayal had stolen my ground, but it gave me back my soul. And that alone was its own kind of revenge. Because nothing hurts a cheating husband more than watching the woman he betrayed become stronger than ever. My perfect revenge was taking shape. I dove into research about silent exposure, learned strategies, studied real stories of women who flipped the script. I didn't want just a scandal. I wanted a mark he'd never erase. A quiet blow that echoed forever, like a whisper that never leaves his mind. It was close, and he had no clue. Some nights, I'd look at him sleeping and think, this is the man who shattered me and doesn't even know it. And at the same time, this is the man who will break when I reveal what I know. bitterness mixed with anticipation. Because now, time was on my side. When the day came, he'd have nowhere to hide. His betrayal would be exposed. Brilliantly. Nothing in this world prepares you to find out the man you loved chose to live a lie outside your marriage. But everything in me screamed that I had to turn that pain into purpose. He wanted a fairy tale with his secretary? Fine. I'd give him an ending. Just not the one he dreamed of. Because my revenge would be perfect. And the irony? He taught me how to lie. He just never expected me to become such a damn good student. Now, he was about to taste his own poison. That morning, something shifted inside me. It wasn't just pain anymore. It was a fire I didn't know I had. While he slept peacefully next to me, I had already made my decision. He cheated on me with his secretary. And now, I was going to rewrite the story. The perfect revenge wouldn't come from screaming. It would come from strategy. I started seeing everything differently. His schedule, his texts, his little slips. He wasn't just a cheating husband. He was a man who truly believed his wife would never fight back. He thought I'd always be the forgiving, quiet woman. But that version of me died the moment I heard that salon conversation. My plan began in silence. And it wasn't just revenge. It was reclamation. I needed to take back everything his affair stole from me. My self-worth, my peace, my identity. Because betrayal doesn't just ruin a marriage. It breaks a woman from the inside out. And I wasn't going to let it destroy me quietly. I started researching other women's stories. I watched videos, read books, joined secret forums. I found dozens of ways to expose a cheating husband. But none of them felt right. I didn't want just a scandal. I wanted him to feel the weight of his infidelity, to suffer not through drama, but through truth. I wrote everything down. Every lie, every suspicious night, every meeting that wasn't real. I created my own little truth archive. That's where I built my revenge, sentence by sentence. While he was out with the secretary, I was crafting the perfect downfall. And strangely, it gave me peace. It's funny how pain becomes fuel. 4 years, I was the loyal wife, supportive, devoted, patient. And he threw that all away with a smile and a signature on a hotel receipt. But he forgot one thing. When a woman rises, no affair can hold her down. This wasn't just revenge. This was my rebirth. I called a friend who plans events and told her I wanted to throw a surprise party for my husband. She thought it was a loving gesture. What she didn't know was that the party would be the stage for his exposure. Everyone would see. Everyone would know. And it would be unforgettable. In the days that followed, I refined the plan. I made lists. Chose a date. I decided there would be no yelling, no chaos. My perfect revenge would be like fine wine, slow, elegant, and served at just the right temperature. I was learning the game. And this time, he was the pawn. I was sure the secretary had no clue what was coming. Young, overconfident, thinking she'd won some twisted prize. She believed his promises. Thought hotel love could become a home. She had no idea her little secret was about to be exposed. And in the worst way possible. While he thought he was in control, I started getting close to people around her. I found out details even he didn't know. Her mom's name, her favorite restaurant, her gym schedule. It all went into my truth archive. And with every new detail, my pain turned to precision. For the first time in months, I felt powerful again. I wasn't a prisoner of insecurity or fear. I was the author of my story, and this chapter would end on my terms. The husband who cheats with his secretary never expects his wife to be 2 steps ahead. But I was already leading the dance. I started taking care of myself. Skin, hair, body. Not for him. For me. My confidence was part of the revenge. Because the worst punishment for a cheating husband is watching the woman he broke turn into everything he'll never have again. While he sank in lies, I bloomed in truth. Sometimes I caught myself laughing alone. Out of nerves. Maybe. Out of freedom. Absolutely. I was building my justice with my own hands. He wanted a secret love story? Fine. I'd give him an audience. And not just any crowd. His admirers, his friends, his family. Everyone would see who he really was. I created a slideshow. Yes, a slideshow. With pictures, messages, dates. A timeline of his betrayal. Clean, direct, brutal. The final slide read, "While I believed in love, he believed in lies." Because nothing cuts deeper than being exposed with elegance and precision. The days before the party, he became sweeter. Maybe he sensed something. Or maybe it was guilt in disguise. I smiled, acted warm, played the part. Like any strategist. Quiet, subtle, deadly. He had no idea what was coming. But soon he would. The exposure was near. And somewhere between the planning, the flashbacks, and the silent tears, I found something even bigger, my strength. Because perfect revenge doesn't come from rage. It comes from resurrection. And mine had just begun. That morning, as the sun rose over Denver, I slipped into the prettiest dress I owned. The same one he gave me on our 20th wedding anniversary. Back when I still believed in what it symbolized. Today, that dress was my armor. I looked at myself in the mirror, took a deep breath, and smiled. The day of truth had finally arrived. The party was set up as a celebration of his recent career success. I invited friends, co-workers, family, even the secretary. Everything looked normal, cordial, almost affectionate. No one had any idea what was really behind this perfectly staged event. But I knew. That night, no one would leave the same. When he walked in, smiling, surrounded by applause, he kissed me on the cheek and whispered thank you. He had no clue that this was the last time he'd be applauded as the good husband. The secretary was there too, pretending to be subtle, but I saw the pride in her eyes. She thought she'd won. Poor girl. While everyone was clinking glasses and laughing, I just watched. Infidelity always smells like cheap perfume and inflated egos. I could see it in both of them. The way his eyes searched for hers. The way she checked if people were noticing her. It only made me more certain. My revenge was going to be perfect. The highlight of the night came after dinner. I announced I had prepared a tribute for my dear husband, for the incredible man he is, and asked for silence. The lights dimmed, the music stopped, and the screen lit up. My heart was pounding, but I didn't flinch. I was ready. The video started with old photos of us. Vacations, family moments, smiling memories. Everyone looked touched. He smiled at me with that smug expression. Then, the images changed. Hotel bookings, message screenshots, secret selfies. The room froze. People stopped chewing mid-bite. Every image came with a date. Every screenshot had a sharp little caption. While I was home taking care of our family. Message to her. While he said he was in a meeting. A selfie of them together. The truths piled up like silent punches, one after another. The air turned heavy. I looked at him, he was pale. The secretary tried to hide her face, but there was nowhere left to hide. He started to stand, but my voice stopped him. Sit down. You need to see this through. And he did. Frozen. Like a man realizing he'd been buried alive. The final image was a selfie of me, alone, smiling. While he was cheating, I was planning. That line closed the video like slamming a book shut. Some people clapped. Others cried. But no one dared look at me with pity. For the first time, they saw the woman I truly was. He tried to explain himself, stammering, searching for support. But no one offered a hand. The man who thought he was so clever was now exposed. Not out of hate, but with truth. And truth, when told right, can destroy more powerfully than any scream. The secretary left crying, pulled away by a coworker. I didn't feel pity. I felt justice. Because anyone who feeds the ego of a married man must know, this isn't romance, it's ruin. She learned the hard way. An affair always comes with a bill. And sometimes, it's paid in public. After the video, I stood calmly, thanked everyone for coming and ended the night. I told them, for some, this was a party. For me, it was a funeral. The burial of the naive woman I used to be. The rebirth of the woman who rose from betrayal. Standing tall. Unshaken. As I stepped outside into the cold night air, I felt a freedom I hadn't tasted in decades. No shouting. No drama. Just the satisfaction of finally being heard, seen, respected. My revenge was perfect because it had class, truth, and courage. And he never saw it coming. On the ride home, I thought about everything I had endured for love. The lies. The excuses. The kisses without soul. Every woman who's ever been betrayed knows this silent scream that echoes inside. But that night, I silenced mine, with truth. And it was liberating. I slept deeply that night, alone in my bed, smiling with quiet triumph. He didn't come home. And if he had, he would have found nothing but silence and his bags at the door. I didn't need him anymore. Or the pain he brought with him. I was enough. But even after that night, something inside me whispered that this story wasn't over just yet. Because when you bruise the pride of a cheating husband, he reacts. And sometimes, the game you thought was over, still has one more move to play. The day after the truth party, I woke up feeling a mix of peace and alertness. I knew what I'd done hadn't gone unnoticed, and the game was far from over. My husband, the man who had cheated on me, had yet to show his true reaction. I needed to be ready for whatever came next. I paid close attention to every move, every message, every call. It wasn't paranoia. It was strategic vigilance. Perfect revenge isn't just a one-time act. It's a process, a path that demands patience and intelligence to handle every step the cheater and his accomplice take. They were exposed, but still dangerous. I got an unexpected call from that secretary. Her voice was shaky, mixing regret and fear. She tried to apologize, but I wasn't there to forgive. That was just another chapter in her betrayal. Learning the hard way that affairs don't end well for those who disrespect someone else's bonds. She knew she'd lost. Meanwhile, my husband started acting like nothing had happened, trying to get back to normal, but with that weird vibe of someone walking on thin ice. I watched every move, every lame excuse. I learned that a cheating husband can't handle the truth, so their reactions can be unpredictable, even violent. That's when I realized my revenge needed more layers. I talked with a friend who'd been through infidelity too, and she advised me to document everything, every veiled threat, every manipulation attempt. It was wise advice because perfect revenge also means protecting yourself. Revenge isn't just confrontation, it's emotional intelligence and strategy, like a chess game where every piece matters. At home, I rewrote the rules of my life. I started taking better care of myself, valuing my moments of peace. I took yoga classes to calm my mind and picked up The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, which helped me stay focused on the present and not drown in the painful past. That strengthened me for what was next. I realized my husband's silence was a dangerous weapon. He wanted to destabilize me, make me doubt my own strength. But I kept control. That taught me an important lesson. When a cheater tries to erase guilt with silence, it's time to make noise with your actions, to show you're whole and ready for the next chapter. The secretary vanished from my life, but I made it clear I wouldn't be intimidated by her absence. She was just a broken piece in that infidelity puzzle. My attention went back to him, the man who cheated, the husband I once loved, now exposed and without excuses. It was time to make sure he knew the revenge was far from over. I began seriously planning my financial independence. I searched for online courses to update my skills and started investing in my career again. Because perfect revenge isn't just about exposing the cheater. It's about rebuilding your own life with pride and strength, setting a real example of overcoming for anyone watching my story. I also learned the importance of having a support network. People who truly care. Real friends who don't judge, but empower you. That support was crucial so I wouldn't crumble and could stay strong even when the wounds from betrayal still hurt. Never underestimate the power of a friend's embrace. I started writing about my experience. I put down on paper every feeling, every moment of pain and growth. Writing became therapy and an act of courage. Sharing my story helped other women feel less alone and gave me even more strength. That prepared me for the next move. One day, I was invited to speak at a support group for betrayed women. I accepted immediately. That's when I realized my story had power, that my perfect revenge wasn't just about him, but about turning pain into strength for myself and others. This awareness gave me a new purpose and opened unexpected doors. Even with all this, I knew I had to stay vigilant. Betrayal leaves traces that only emotional intelligence and a keen eye can spot. So I started discreetly monitoring his moves, who he talked to, whether he tried to contact the secretary. Being ready for any reaction was essential. I felt stronger every day. What seemed like the end was actually the start of my freedom. The exposed betrayal, the broken heart, the pain, they all showed my real strength. Perfect revenge isn't just about exposing. It's about rising from the ashes and moving forward, wiser and more determined than ever. And so, I prepared myself for what was coming next, smiling with fire in my heart. Because I knew the real victory wouldn't be just taking him down, but standing up whole, strong, and free. And that part of the story was only just beginning to be written. I still couldn't believe what I had discovered. My husband, the man who vowed to be faithful, had cheated on me with his secretary. The pain was deep, a wound that seemed never to heal. I felt exposed, humiliated, like everyone knew except me. It was the beginning of a whirlwind that would change my life forever. 4 days, I lived in shock, trying to understand how this could have happened. It was hard to accept that the man I loved was hiding such a dirty secret. His betrayal wasn't just physical, it was emotional, a stab in the back I never saw coming. My heart was broken, but my mind was already searching for a way out. That's when I realized the perfect revenge wouldn't be impulsive. I needed to act with intelligence, strategy, and calm. I didn't just want to expose his infidelity. I wanted to turn the tables and show that even betrayed, I still had power. I began carefully planning every step, like a queen moving her pieces on a chessboard. I decided not to waste time on blind rage because I knew it would only weaken me. Instead, I focused on strengthening my spirit by reading books that helped me understand my own power. Women Who Run with the Wolves, and The Power of Now, became my allies. They taught me that true power comes from within, not from circumstances. Slowly, my attitude changed. I was no longer the betrayed wife crying alone. I became a determined woman ready to rise again. I started taking better care of myself, my health, my body, and my mind. I signed up for yoga and self-defense classes because I wanted to be strong in every way. Meanwhile, I watched his behavior closely. My husband tried to hide the truth, but his glances and silences said it all. The secretary sent messages full of regret, but I wasn't interested in their empty apologies anymore. They had been exposed, and that gave me a sweet sense of power. At home, I set clear boundaries. I refused to be ignored or manipulated by his silence any longer. I took control of our communication and set rules that helped protect me emotionally. That stance made a huge difference. He realized I was no longer the vulnerable woman he once knew. At the same time, I sought support from groups of women who had gone through similar betrayals. Sharing experiences helped me see I wasn't alone. Hearing stories of overcoming gave me hope and new strategies to handle the pain and disappointment. It was a process of healing and learning. I wanted more than revenge. I wanted rebirth. Every small step I took was a victory over the infidelity that tried to break me. I invested in my career, revived dreams I'd put on hold. My perfect revenge would be a complete transformation, proving I could be happy and fulfilled on my own. That's when I realized the power wasn't in destroying, but in building something better for myself. I didn't want to humiliate my husband publicly. My revenge would be quiet but definitive. While he lived in lies, I rebuilt myself with dignity and strength. That was the real triumph, and it was yet to come. Along the way, there were moments of weakness, of course. Days when sadness and anger almost took over. But I had learned these feelings were temporary and that I needed to focus on what really mattered: my happiness and my future. I remembered the power of forgiveness, not for him, but for myself. With that mindset, I started distancing myself from the past and the pain of betrayal that exposed me. I began planning a new life, away from the shadows of that broken marriage. I enrolled in courses I'd always wanted to take, dedicated time to hobbies I enjoyed, and surrounded myself with people who lifted me up. My husband and his secretary continued existing in that world of lies, but I was no longer part of it. I was living my own story, with my future written by my own hands. Perfect revenge wasn't an outburst of hate. It was a crescendo of self-worth. My confidence grew every day, and I knew the next chapter of my life would be the best one yet. I was ready to face whatever came because that betrayed woman was gone. In her place stood a warrior who wouldn't be underestimated again. And so, I prepared for the moment I'd show my strength to everyone who doubted me. Perfect revenge was in every step I took, every smile I earned despite the pain. And this was just the beginning of something much greater. After my life started to rearrange itself, I realized I needed to keep my focus away from my husband and his secretary. Their betrayal had exposed me to the world, but I refused to be defined by that pain. I began to understand that the real revenge was reclaiming my own worth and moving forward with strength. Each day, the weight of his infidelity felt a little lighter. Many women who faced betrayals like mine get stuck in the past, replaying the same painful thoughts over and over. I knew I had to break that cycle. So I decided to invest in myself, not just emotionally, but professionally too. I started taking online courses I'd always dreamed about, like digital marketing and leadership. That gave me a new purpose. My husband kept trying to hide his actions, but I had eyes to see beyond his lies. The secretary, poor thing, seemed more and more remorseful, but I wasn't interested in empty excuses anymore. Their affair was bound to be exposed, and I was gearing up to show that a betrayed woman can be way more powerful. That's the perfect revenge. During one of the courses, I met other women who'd been cheated on by their husbands. Their stories inspired me and made me realize my pain wasn't unique, but my response could be extraordinary. We shared experiences and strategies to overcome betrayal. That's when I began planning my next move, with calm and intelligence. I also started focusing on my physical health because I knew inner strength begins with the body. Yoga, walks, and a balanced diet became my routine. That discipline reflected in my mind, helping me manage the anxiety from the cheating husband and the rage I felt. That shift changed everything for me. Meanwhile, tension at home was rising. My husband avoided looking me in the eye, and the secretary vanished from the scene. I didn't waste time on unnecessary drama. I used the silence as ammunition. Staying quiet, strong, and confident was the last thing he expected, and that gave me a crucial advantage for what was coming next. Perfect revenge requires patience. I remember one day he tried to convince me to forget everything and move on. But I knew I couldn't just erase his infidelity. My response would be much more impactful because I wasn't after justice alone. I wanted to be reborn. That gave me the strength to carry on. Self-love became my shield against what used to destroy me. I also invested in my support network, getting closer to friends and family who lifted me up. They didn't know all the details but could feel my transformation. Being betrayed by a husband and exposed to his secretary's infidelity can be devastating, but with a solid support circle, everything feels easier to handle. That circle was my foundation. Over time, I allowed myself moments of joy and fun. Before the betrayal, I often forgot to care for myself. Now I made sure to carve out time for travel, reading my favorite novels, and even trying new hobbies like photography. It was my way of proving my life was still full, despite the painful past. The hardest part was managing the internal anger and frustration. Knowing my husband, my partner, had cheated on me with someone so close hurt like nothing else. But instead of drowning in those emotions, I learned to use them as fuel for my personal transformation. This was more than revenge. It was my liberation. Meanwhile, he kept going about his routine, trying to keep up appearances at work and home. The secretary was gone, but the damage was done. I was ready to make sure the truth about his cheating was known by those who really mattered, without needing to resort to public exposure. True power lies in elegant silence and strong action. More than that, I realized perfect revenge doesn't have to be dramatic or aggressive. It can be smart, aimed at restoring your dignity and self-respect. I learned this from books I read and from women who turned pain into victory. My story was going to be one of them. Every step I took brought me closer to my best self. My husband's betrayal with his secretary had shocked me, but I was determined not to let it define who I was. What started as exposing his infidelity turned into a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. And this was just the beginning. As I planned my next move, I felt strength growing inside me. Perfect revenge wasn't about destruction. It was about rebuilding my life with authenticity. I knew the road ahead would be long, but every challenge made me stronger. And as impossible as it seemed, I was finally finding peace. It's funny how infidelity can expose not just the cheater, but also the hidden strength of the betrayed. I didn't want just to expose the truth about my husband and his secretary. I wanted to prove to myself that I could overcome it all. That was the most valuable lesson I learned on this journey of pain and rebirth. What felt like a painful ending became a new beginning filled with possibilities. Perfect revenge was revealing itself in the details of my daily life, in the small victories I claimed. Every genuine smile, every professional achievement was a quiet answer to the husband who cheated on me with his secretary. Now, I'm ready for the next chapters of my life, certain that nothing can bring me down. The infidelity that once exposed me now inspires me. My perfect revenge wasn't a scream of anger. It was a silent declaration of the strong woman I've always been. And this story still has a lot to tell. After rebuilding my inner strength, I realized the real battle wasn't over yet. My husband was trying desperately to get back what he'd lost, but I was no longer that fragile woman. His cheating with the secretary had opened a wound, but it also taught me the value of self-love and resilience. I was ready to take the next step. The perfect revenge, I came to see, wasn't about shallow or momentary payback. It was a deep transformation. I wanted to show that despite his infidelity and the exposure of our marriage, I could rise above it all. I started investing in my personal growth, attending support groups and even going to therapy to heal invisible scars. While he tried to hide his mistakes behind lame excuses, I grew stronger in silence. The secretary had disappeared, but her shadow still lingered, stirring doubts and pain. I had to break free from that ghost. So, I took up activities that helped distract my mind, like painting and nature walks. Self-care became my fuel. Little by little, I understood that true power comes from mastering your own emotions. It's easy to get lost in anger and sadness when you're betrayed, but I needed more. I learned meditation and breathing techniques that helped me stay calm amid the chaos. That inner peace became my secret weapon against my husband and his betrayal. I found inspiration in books by women who went through similar situations and came out on top. Rising Strong by Brené Brown was one that deeply impacted me. She talks about the courage to get back up after falling, and that's exactly what I needed. I didn't just want revenge on my cheating husband. I wanted to rise with dignity and strength. I knew that to succeed in my plan, I had to act smart and strategic. Blowing everything up with emotional outbursts wouldn't help. It would only reinforce the victim image. So, I prepared to surprise everyone, including him, with my ability to turn things around. That was the perfect revenge, the one nobody expected. During this process, my circle of friends became a crucial pillar. We shared stories, laughed, and cried together, giving me the strength to keep going. If you're going through something similar, know that emotional support is key. Don't try to face it all alone. Finding your tribe can be transformative. Meanwhile, my husband started feeling the weight of consequences. His professional and personal reputation began to crumble, even though I didn't have to do anything directly. The universe and time have their own ways of delivering justice, and all I had to do was stay firm and true to my path. My life started to blossom in new ways. I went back to school, took a life coaching course, and began helping other women rebuild after betrayal. This gave me renewed purpose and showed me that my pain could be turned into meaning. Perfect revenge is also about turning pain into light. Never underestimate the power of self-awareness. Understanding my weaknesses and strengths helped me build a new me, stronger and wiser. It helped me leave the past behind, including the husband who cheated on me with his secretary. Forgiveness, even if just within myself, freed me to move forward. What surprised me most was the peace I found within myself. His infidelity no longer consumed me. Instead, I used that experience to inspire my own transformation. That's the real perfect revenge, turning suffering into strength and betrayal into wisdom. Now, when I look back, I see every tear and sleepless night was worth it. I didn't just survive. I was reborn. And the feeling of having control over my life again is something no one can take away. My husband might have cheated, but he never destroyed my spirit. Still, I knew the story wasn't over. Perfect revenge also means staying vigilant, watching what comes next, and continuing to grow. After all, life is full of challenges, and being prepared is essential for any woman who wants to rise after betrayal. This journey taught me a vital lesson. What truly matters isn't who betrayed us, but who we choose to be afterward. I chose to be strong, wise, and resilient. That choice opened doors I never imagined existed. And that's something no betrayal can steal. The transformation I went through also impacted my family and social relationships. People who once saw me as a victim began seeing me as a warrior and inspiration. That gave me even more confidence to keep going and help other women find their way. And you know what's the most interesting part? My perfect revenge didn't need scandals or direct confrontations. It was quiet but powerful. Best of all, it didn't just free me. It made me grow beyond what I thought possible. My husband's affair with the secretary was the beginning, not the end. And that's where the story keeps going, with new challenges and discoveries. If you've been betrayed, you know the road is long, but it doesn't have to be lonely. True revenge is in rebuilding yourself. And I'm here to show you how it's possible. I knew that to move forward, I had to face the ghosts of the past. My husband's betrayal with his secretary wasn't something I could just ignore. Every time I closed my eyes, that image came back, reminding me of the open wound. But I didn't want to be a prisoner of that pain anymore. I needed to turn that hurt into strength. I started to realize that the perfect revenge wasn't just exposing his infidelity, but reclaiming my own worth. So, I decided to invest intensely in myself. I took courses I'd always wanted, learned new things, and dedicated myself to projects that filled me with pride. It was my way of proving life goes on, even after betrayal. The husband who cheated on me seemed more and more lost. His apologies and attempts to get back felt empty to me. I was steady, focused on my journey of self-discovery and healing. He tried to hide his affair, but the truth was already exposed, and he no longer controlled my story. I was the owner of my destiny now. One of the hardest parts was dealing with anger. I felt a mix of sadness, rage, and frustration. But I realized letting those feelings take over wouldn't help. So, I started exercising, meditating, and seeking alternative therapies that helped me manage my emotions. That changed everything. When you go through betrayal, it's normal to feel vulnerable, but I learned vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courage. Courage to face reality, to look inside and decide what to do with that pain. For me, the choice was clear. I wouldn't be a victim. I'd be the protagonist of my life. A friend recommended a book called The Power of Now, which was a game changer. Understanding the value of the present helped me leave behind the weight of the past and the anxiety of the future. Mindfulness became part of my routine, bringing calm and clarity for important decisions. Over time, I rebuilt my self-esteem. I began to celebrate every small victory and treat myself with care. I went out with friends, had fun, and rediscovered what made me happy. That was the start of my perfect revenge, showing I could be happy without him. In the middle of this process, I realized my story could help other women. I started sharing my journey in support groups and on social media, receiving lots of love and messages from women who'd been through similar things. That gave me a bigger purpose, a sense of mission. The perfect revenge now had greater meaning. While he sank deeper into the consequences of what he'd done, I grew stronger. The affair wasn't just exposed, so was his whole behavior, and he began paying a high price for it. I didn't have to do anything but focus on myself. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply to grow and thrive. Another important lesson was learning to trust again. Infidelity shakes trust deeply, not only in others but in yourself. I had to work hard to regain that trust, being patient with myself and seeking professional help. This was one of the toughest but most rewarding parts. I decided not to let the past define my future. My husband's betrayal with his secretary was a turning point, not the end of my story. With determination, I started making new plans and dreams, looking forward with hope and courage. That vision was the fuel that kept me going. Many days were tough, and I admit there were moments of weakness. But in those times, I reminded myself what really mattered, my dignity and self-love. I couldn't let that betrayal destroy me. That gave me strength to keep fighting and rebuilding my life, step by step. I also learned the importance of setting clear boundaries. When he tried to get close again, I made it clear trust had to be earned, and I wouldn't accept any more disrespect. That firm stance was crucial to protect myself and avoid new pain. Sometimes, the best revenge is standing strong. Healing is a long process that requires patience, but the feeling of victory comes little by little. I began to recognize how much I'd grown and become a stronger, more independent woman. And this transformation didn't go unnoticed by those around me. My story of betrayal turned into a life lesson. I'm no longer the woman who cried alone in the dark. Today, I'm the one who smiles with pride, knows what she wants, and won't be shaken by cheating or lies. My perfect revenge was this inner transformation no unfaithful husband could take away. That's real power. Now I live my life focused on what really matters. And you know, just saying all this out loud makes me feel freer from that story and ready for whatever comes next. I never thought I'd reach a point in my life where my own husband cheating on me with his secretary would be the deepest shock I'd ever feel. That woman I greeted at the office seemed so harmless, but behind that smile was a lie that shattered my world. I felt betrayed not only by the man I loved but by everything we had built together. It was hard to accept that the man I trusted, who promised to love and respect me, was having an affair right under my nose. The pain of infidelity hit me like a tsunami, and anger started burning inside me. I knew I couldn't just give in to sadness. I needed a plan, a perfect revenge to show I wouldn't be defeated. But before taking action, I needed to understand what was really going on. Finding out how it all began, who she really was, and what my husband thought he'd gain from this betrayal. Every answer felt like a punch to the gut, but also fueled me for what was to come. I was determined not to let this story be the end of me. I surrounded myself with people who had been through similar situations, seeking strength and advice. A friend recommended books that changed my perspective, like The Gift of Fear by Gavin DeBecker, which helped me recognize emotional danger signs. Learning to protect myself and spot betrayals was key to planning my next move. Meanwhile, I stayed calm, pretending I knew nothing while watching every move my husband and that secretary made. This was tough because the pain was constant, but I needed solid evidence to expose the cheating husband. It was like a chess game, every step carefully calculated to guarantee checkmate. I remember one night, when he thought I was asleep, I found messages on his phone confirming everything. That confirmation was devastating but also opened the door to my perfect revenge. I didn't just want to expose him. I wanted him to feel the weight of his betrayal in every part of his life. My strategy was to show him and everyone around us that he was no longer the untouchable man I once knew. I used the information carefully, exposing it little by little so the truth became impossible to hide. Revenge wasn't about cruelty but justice and reclaiming my worth. In the middle of this process, I realized how much his betrayal taught me about my own strength. I, who thought I'd never move on alone, started rebuilding myself, step by step. The perfect revenge, in the end, was rescuing my self-esteem and happiness. I also sought professional help to deal with the emotional impact. Therapy was crucial to understanding that I wasn't to blame for my husband's infidelity. Sharing my story with other women, I realized many were going through the same thing, and that support and unity are part of healing. This phase taught me to value myself more and not tolerate lies or betrayal. If you're going through something similar, my advice is, don't forget your worth. Read books like You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, which helped me find inner peace and the strength to move forward. The perfect revenge for me wasn't about destroying someone else but about rebuilding myself with all the dignity I deserve. Today, I look back and see that every tear and moment of pain prepared me to be the strong woman you're hearing now. And I know you can get there too. In the end, my husband was exposed, not only to me but to everyone who knows us. His betrayal became the talk of the town, but I didn't have to do much. Just stay true to myself and act smart. The secretary, who thought she'd defeat me, had no place in my life after that. You might be wondering, is all this struggle really worth it? I say yes. Because when you reclaim your power, your life changes completely. The feeling of justice is liberating, and the real victory is loving yourself more than anything else. Perfect revenge is about you, not them. Now, looking back, I see this story taught me lessons beyond betrayal. I learned the importance of trust, communication, and most importantly, self-love. If my story inspires someone not to give up and to fight for themselves, then it was worth it. And life goes on. I stand tall, knowing the best is yet to come. This experience showed me I can face any storm and that my happiness depends on no one but me. Perfect revenge is my freedom reclaimed. But of course, this is just part of my story. There's so much more to share, and I want to tell every detail because I know many women will relate and find strength in this story. This is our voice, our power, our victory. I was tired of pretending everything was fine while my husband kept seeing that secretary. The pain of betrayal was constant, but I knew I had to be smarter than him. Every time he came home, I felt a mix of anger and sadness, but I stayed calm, waiting for the right moment to act. I decided the best way to expose the truth was to make sure the whole community knew what was going on. After all, nothing humiliates a man more than being unmasked in front of everyone who knows him. I needed a strategy that was perfect, to make sure that cheating husband couldn't slip away this time. Meanwhile, I invested in myself, doing things I had long neglected. I went back to dance classes, an old passion that helped me keep my mind focused and my body active. Dancing became my escape, my time to reconnect with myself, and that strength prepared me for what was coming. Talking with my friends was crucial too. They gave me emotional support and shared their own stories of betrayal. I realized I wasn't alone, and together, we can find the strength to rise up and plan a perfect revenge. Not just for payback, but for rebirth. I gathered evidence. Messages, photos, discreet recordings showing the real face of my husband and his secretary. The more I uncovered, the clearer the betrayal became. It was a power game, and I had to be the smartest player to win. With proof in hand, I looked for ways to share it without seeming vindictive, but making it clear the truth had to come out. I used social media and even called a meeting with some close people to reveal everything. The reaction was bigger than I expected, but it only fueled my sense of justice. Seeing people's reactions, I knew my plan was working. My husband was exposed not just as an unfaithful spouse, but as someone who lost all respect in the community. The victory wasn't about humiliating him, it was about reclaiming my power and dignity. Even after all that, I knew I had to keep taking care of myself emotionally. Therapy and meditation became part of my daily routine. Understanding that forgiveness was for me, not for him, was liberating and helped me move forward with my head held high. Over time, I noticed my husband trying to convince me to take him back, but my answer was firm. There was no place for a cheating husband in my life. My perfect revenge was my freedom and happiness, and nothing would make me go back. I learned that real strength isn't about punishing someone else, but about overcoming the pain and rebuilding your life. That's the advice I give anyone facing betrayal. Focus on yourself, your growth, and your worth. That's what truly exposes those who don't deserve to be by your side. During this process, I found out many women hide their stories out of fear or shame. I want you to know your pain is valid, and exposing what happened can be the first step toward healing and rebirth. You deserve so much more than a hidden betrayal. Sometimes life forces us to face the unexpected, and betrayal was my wake-up call. But I used it to become a stronger, wiser woman connected to my true self. Every tear I shed cleansed my soul and prepared me for new paths. Today, looking back, I see my story isn't just about an unfaithful husband or a deceitful secretary. It's about the woman who chose not to hide, who fought with dignity, and who found strength in her pain to start over. That's the real perfect revenge. If you're going through something similar, know the road might be tough, but it's not impossible. Seek help, surround yourself with supportive people, and above all, never lose faith in yourself. Your worth doesn't diminish because of someone else's betrayal. Life is made of cycles, and every ending is also a new beginning. My husband's betrayal closed one chapter but opened doors I never imagined. Today, I'm the master of my destiny, and that freedom is worth every ounce of pain I went through. I hope my story inspires you who are out there facing your own battle. The perfect revenge you're looking for might be closer than you think. It's inside you. It's time to reclaim your power and write a new story. I never imagined that, after everything, my husband would still try to justify himself. He said it was just a phase, and that I should forgive, but I knew that was a lie. Every word he said sounded like a desperate attempt to hide the truth that was already exposed for everyone to see. I was tired of being the silent victim of that betrayal. I started to realize the real battle wasn't against him, but against my own feelings. The pain of infidelity is a sharp knife that cuts deep, and no one can feel it for you. That's when I decided to focus on healing myself, looking for ways to grow stronger emotionally to face everything that was still coming. One thing that helped me a lot was keeping a journal, putting down every thought, every hurt, and every hope on paper. It was a way to understand myself better and to take that heavy weight off my chest. For anyone going through something similar, I highly recommend this exercise. Writing helps organize your emotions and clear your mind. Meanwhile, my husband kept trying to come back into my life, offering empty promises and rehearsed apologies. I just couldn't believe him anymore. Trust had been broken, and no forgiveness can fix that overnight. It takes time, and most importantly, genuine actions. I decided then to set clear boundaries to protect my peace. I learned that no is a powerful word and nobody should cross the line of respect. Over time, this firm stance gave me more confidence to deal with his attempts to manipulate my feelings. It became my shield against the painful past. During moments of weakness, I sought support from groups of women who had gone through similar betrayals. It was surprising how solidarity can turn pain into collective strength. Sharing experiences and hearing similar stories made me feel less alone and more prepared to move forward. I realized that my perfect revenge wasn't in humiliating him, but in rebuilding my self-esteem. Every step I took to care for myself was a victory over that broken marriage. His infidelity showed me how much I deserved better and gave me the push to pursue my own happiness. I also understood that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or going back, but freeing yourself from the weight of resentment. Forgiving is a gift we give ourselves so we can keep living without the shadow of the past. This lesson was crucial for me to stop being a prisoner of what he did and start living for myself. At the same time, I started investing in new projects and hobbies I always wanted to try. I took painting classes, picked up the English I had stopped studying, and even signed up for a cooking course. These activities helped me rebuild my identity beyond the role of a betrayed wife. At work, I dedicated myself like never before. Focus and commitment pulled me out of sadness and opened doors I didn't even know existed. It was an important step to show myself that I was capable of much more than that shattered relationship suggested. I also learned to value my physical health, something I had neglected in my darkest moments. I started walking daily and taking care of my diet, understanding that body and mind are inseparable. This self-care made me feel alive again, ready for whatever challenge. Over time, the image of the husband who cheated on me faded away. He stopped being the center of my life, giving way to a stronger and more aware woman. This didn't happen overnight, but it was a constant process of choice and self-care. I learned that self-love is the foundation for any recovery. Without it, any attempt at a fresh start is compromised. That's why I always recommend that anyone going through infidelity invest in loving themselves first, before seeking any kind of reconciliation. And that feeling of being watched, judged by the community, that's gone too. Today, I'm proud of my story and how I faced every moment. Other people's judgment will never have power over my life again. I know many women feel ashamed or afraid to tell their stories, but silence only makes the pain worse. Sharing, even if only with myself or trusted people, was liberating. It gave me the strength to keep writing my future. What seemed like a devastating end actually became a new beginning. My husband didn't define me. I defined myself. His betrayal was the spark that lit a new life, full of possibilities and hope. And so, through ups and downs, I keep moving forward. I've learned that the path to healing is long, but every step is worth it. My story isn't just about a cheating husband and a secretary. It's about rebirth, power, and the pursuit of a perfect life on my own terms. After all the chaos, something inside me began to change. I realized I didn't need to look back anymore or feed that anger that was consuming me. It was a slow process, but I started rebuilding my life, brick by brick. It felt like I was rediscovering myself, finding my strength again. My husband's betrayal with his secretary had pushed me to the edge, but deep down, something was shining. It was the certainty that I could turn that pain into something greater. I began investing in myself, becoming a stronger and wiser version. You know that saying, when one door closes, another opens. That's exactly how it felt. There were many times I felt lost and thought I'd never overcome the betrayal. But the secret is to accept that the past can't be changed. Only the present and future can. I sought support through therapy and books that helped me understand what was happening. The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz was one of them, a real guide for my transformation. As I worked on my self-awareness, I realized my relationship with my husband didn't have to define me. His infidelity exposed a part of him, not me. That mental separation was crucial for me to move forward without carrying the guilt or shame that had weighed me down for so long. I admit there were moments when revenge seemed irresistible. But I learned that perfect revenge isn't about humiliating or destroying someone else. It's about rebuilding and thriving. Instead of wasting energy on anger, I chose to channel everything into my personal growth, so the impact of that betrayal would hurt me less. I started picking up projects I had abandoned years ago, like my dream of learning photography. Art became an outlet, helping me see the world and myself from a new perspective. It was like every camera click captured a moment of overcoming, a victory over the pain caused by the cheating. Besides that, I made a point of strengthening my support network. True friends, family who truly mattered, people who lifted me up on my hardest days. It's essential to surround yourself with those who want the best for you because no one should walk the healing path alone. I learned to say no to those who didn't add value to my life. With every step I took, I felt the weight of infidelity lighten. The cheating husband who once seemed all-powerful lost space in my mind. The secretary? She became just a shadow from the past, a story that taught me the value of my own dignity. This process wasn't linear. I had setbacks, doubts, and insecurities. But the important thing was I never lost focus on what I wanted, a full life, not just surviving the affair's impact. I wanted to be truly happy, and that required courage, persistence, and self-love. In all of this, I discovered the power of forgiveness, not for my husband, but for myself. Forgiving my mistakes, my wrong choices, and most of all, forgiving my heart that had suffered so much. This act of compassion toward myself was what freed me to live a new chapter. I also began to understand that exposing infidelity, when done wisely, can be a step toward freedom. Not as public revenge, but as a process of letting the truth come out so nothing stays hidden anymore. Transparency became part of my healing. And you know what else? I learned that time doesn't heal everything, but it gives perspective. As months passed, what felt like a huge tragedy started turning into a valuable lesson. I learned to listen to my intuition and trust myself like never before. The road to recovery taught me patience with myself. Sometimes we want to skip steps and think we'll get over it fast. But the truth is everyone has their own time and process. I respected mine, and with that, built a solid foundation for the future. Today, when I look back, I see how much I've grown. I'm no longer that woman silently suffering, hiding the pain of a cheating husband and secretary. I'm someone who faced betrayal head-on with dignity and chose freedom and strength instead. I know there are still hard days, and that's normal. What matters is I learned to recognize those moments without letting myself drown in them. Every day, I reaffirm my commitment to my happiness, which is way bigger than any pain from the past. The story I began living after the affair became my real revenge. A revenge that doesn't depend on anyone else but comes from within me. And for me, that's what perfect revenge means. Not destruction, but rebuilding my life. If I could give advice to anyone going through something similar, I'd say, the strength you need is already inside you. Betrayal exposes what no longer serves you but also makes room for what truly matters. Use this moment to reinvent yourself. And so, I keep sharing my story, knowing each chapter holds a lesson, and the best is yet to come. When everything seemed to be in place, the truth kept chasing me. It wasn't just about my husband's affair with his secretary. It was about what it revealed about who I was and who I could become. I had to decide. Would I stay trapped in that dark past or look for the light at the end of the tunnel? The fear of opening up to the world, of showing my vulnerability, almost paralyzed me. But I realized that silence only made me weaker. Sharing my story was an act of courage and, at the same time, the most powerful way to take back control of my life. Every word spoken was a brick building my freedom. I learned that resentment is a weight that only slows down our growth. Forgiving, in this sense, wasn't about forgetting but freeing my heart from the prison of bitterness. I discovered that forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves, an essential step to move on without carrying unnecessary baggage. My husband exposed more than my trust. He exposed the fragility of appearances. That woman who seemed perfect to everyone, even to me, was broken inside. That's when I decided to rebuild. Not for him, but for me, for the woman I could still be, no matter his mistakes. The secretary? She was just a chapter. Painful, yes, but only part of a bigger story I was still writing. Understanding this was liberating because it shifted the focus from anger to my own strength. I couldn't let infidelity define who I was. I started looking for things that fed my soul. Yoga, meditation, even a creative writing class became part of my routine. Learning to listen to my body and mind helped me rebuild what the betrayal tried to destroy. These practices gave me tools to manage stress and strengthen my emotions. During this process, my support network took on new meaning. It wasn't just friends and family anymore, but people who genuinely cared about my well-being. I began to value honest meetings, deep conversations, and gestures of kindness I used to overlook. Every small victory was celebrated because I knew I was moving in the right direction. Knowing I was prioritizing myself and taking care of me was a revolutionary act after so long sacrificing my happiness for someone who didn't deserve it. My husband's cheating and the secretary's infidelity taught me, among other things, the importance of authenticity. I couldn't live a life based on others' approval or fake appearances anymore. My truth had to be lived, even if it hurt. The feeling of exposure I once had turned into strength. Telling my story to whoever wanted to listen was my way of empowerment. Every detail shared was a step in breaking down the power betrayal held over me. I realized the best revenge wasn't exposing my husband or making a scene. The best revenge was my transformation, my ability to get up and move on with my head held high. That, yes, was perfect and true. My journey also taught me to value time. The time I take to heal and rediscover myself isn't lost time. It's an investment that pays eternal dividends. That's priceless. Every day, every moment is a chance to start over. Along the way, I understood that the control we have over our lives is much greater than we think. I couldn't control my husband's betrayal, but I could control how I respond to it. And that made all the difference. In the end, the story of the secretary and my husband is only a part of my life, not the whole. I'm the protagonist, and the script is still being written. I choose the path of strength, healing, and freedom. If you're going through something similar, know you're not alone. It's possible to turn pain into growth and learn from it. Don't let anyone define your worth or your future. This journey taught me that even in the toughest times, there's a light ready to guide us. You just need the courage to keep moving forward, even with a wounded heart. And so, here I am, sharing my story, ready to show that the end of one chapter can be the beginning of the life I've always dreamed of. After everything I went through, I realized that life doesn't wait for anyone. Every moment I lost taught me the value of time and the attention we must give ourselves. I had to learn to put my happiness first, even when it felt selfish. It was hard at first, but now I know it's absolutely necessary. My husband, with his cheating and the affair with his secretary, showed me how trust isn't something you just hand out carelessly. But he also taught me that true strength is about finding that trust within yourself again. Rebuilding my self-esteem was a crucial step to moving forward without looking back. Along this journey, I discovered that perfect revenge isn't about ruining someone else. It's about rising from the ashes. Being able to stand up, start over, and show the world you're worth more than any betrayal. That was my biggest win, reclaiming myself and owning my story. I won't lie, there were many nights filled with doubts and tears. But little by little, I understood that pain is temporary and the courage to keep going is forever. Today, I can look back and be grateful for every challenge because they made me stronger, wiser, and freer. I had to learn how to forgive, not to forget what my husband and his secretary did, but to free myself from the weight of bitterness that held me back. That allowed me to open the door for new chances, new dreams, and a true love, the love that starts with me. In rebuilding myself, I realized that self-love is the foundation of any healthy relationship. If we don't value ourselves first, we can't expect others to do it. Today, my priority is taking care of myself, without guilt or fear, with confidence born from self-awareness. The truth is, my husband's infidelity was the turning point I needed. It was a wake-up call that pushed me out of my comfort zone and into a fuller, more authentic life. That lesson, as painful as it was, gave me clarity and purpose I never imagined having. To me, his secretary was just a passing shadow. The real story is my transformation. The woman speaking to you now is renewed, someone who learned to set boundaries, say no, and always seek the best for herself. That's the revenge worth having. During this process, I started writing about my experience. Writing helped me sort out my thoughts and feelings, and I realized I could help other women going through the same thing. Sharing my story became my mission, my act of love and defiance. Every word I write is an invitation for other women to find themselves and know they're not alone. That there's strength in unity and sharing stories. and that even after betrayal, life can be extraordinary, if we allow it. Today, I see my journey as a testament to resilience. That it's possible to turn pain into wisdom and suffering into fuel for new victories. This is the message I want every woman listening to take away. Never give up on yourself. If I could go back in time, I'd tell my younger self that a husband's betrayal doesn't define her worth. That self-love is the greatest treasure, and true happiness lies within each of us. That's the truth I want every woman to know. Though the wound takes time to heal, time brings healing and wisdom. Now, I look to the future with hope and confidence, knowing I have the power to write new chapters. And no matter the past, the best is yet to come. Sometimes life tests us to show us what we're truly made of. My test was tough, but I passed it and came out stronger. That's the message I want to share. Pain can be the start of our greatest personal revolution. The secretary and my husband are just part of a story I've left behind. What matters now is the woman I am, the woman I've become, and what I'm yet to achieve. My perfect revenge is living fully and happily, free from grudges. And so, I keep telling my story, not to relive the pain but to show that there is light after the storm. That even when everything seems lost, inner strength can lead us to freedom and to true love, the love we have for ourselves. I never imagined I'd be here one day, sharing this story that changed my life forever. After everything I went through, all I can say is that I was reborn from the ashes, stronger and wiser than I ever thought possible. That betrayal, painful as it was, taught me the greatest lesson about love, respect, and valuing myself. My marriage ended, but I gained something much bigger. The freedom to be myself, no masks, no fear. I realized I deserve true love, one that honors my story and feelings. That awareness was the start of a new life, full of possibilities and dreams. The perfect revenge wasn't about destruction, but about rebuilding. My revenge was my own transformation, reclaiming my worth, proving that no one can tear me down without my permission. Every step I took toward healing was a small victory over pain and betrayal. Looking back now, I'm grateful for what I lived through because every hardship taught me resilience and to never settle for less than I deserve. My husband's infidelity exposed his weaknesses but revealed my strength. Strength I didn't even know I had. I began to care for myself with more love and attention, prioritizing my mental health, well-being, and happiness. I learned that true revenge is investing in yourself, building self-esteem, and creating a life that makes every tear worth it. I never accepted being lied to or disrespected again. I set clear boundaries and surrounded myself with people who truly value me. That change wasn't easy but was necessary to free myself from the past and open up to a better future. I also found strength in my faith and in true friendships that held me up during the toughest moments. Their support was key in helping me rebuild my life, step by step, patiently but with determination. Each day became a new chance to start over, to write a new story where I'm the main character and self-love is the leading script. I refused to let betrayal define me. Instead, I used it as fuel to reinvent myself. Slowly, I regained my confidence, joy, and desire to live fully. I discovered I can be happy on my own, that my happiness depends only on me. That discovery was freeing. Today, my life is filled with renewed dreams, exciting projects, and friendships that inspire me. I found a higher purpose that goes beyond the past and pain. My focus is on the present and the future I choose to build. I know many women are going through similar situations, feeling betrayed, lost, or hopeless. I want them to know there's light at the end of the tunnel and that the sweetest revenge is rebuilding your own life with love and courage. It doesn't matter what happened. What matters is what you do with it. You can choose to be defeated or to rise stronger. I chose the latter, and I invite you to do the same because no one deserves less than the best. My story isn't just about a cheating husband, but about a woman who was reborn and found her true worth. That's the message I leave you with. Never underestimate your strength and never settle for less than you deserve. Now I move forward with my head held high, an open heart, and the certainty that the best is yet to come. Life is made of chapters, and mine is about to be written with joy, peace, and true love. Thank you for listening to me this far. If my story touched your heart, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and share this message with other women who need to hear that it's possible to overcome and be happy even after betrayal. Remember, perfect revenge lies in your own transformation. Take care of yourself, value yourself, and never stop believing in your power to rise again. Life goes on, and the best is always ahead. If my story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. It really helps a lot. I want to know, have you ever been through betrayal or something similar? Share your experience in the comments. I'd love to read and connect with you. And don't miss the next story. It's linked right here in the card above, and it's even more surprising. Thank you for staying with me until now. Your support means everything. Let's keep moving forward together on this journey. Let me know if you want any changes or if I can assist you further.